What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NBA to the Galaxy Pod. I am your host here, Scotty Drown. You can call me Scotty. You can see my co-host here, who's always with me, Slimster. You switched up the name on me. You switched up the tag on me there.
Yeah,
Hey,
man.
if that's what you want to go by, I got you. I got you, Slimster. So we got Slimster over here. You can find him at RTR30111 on the X app. With that being said, man, we got a lot to get into on this show. It's been a little bit. I've been stressed out as a Sixers fan. I don't got no Sixers gear on. I'm done with them for now. But that would be why we didn't check in yesterday when we were supposed to ultimately. But here we are, man, on a nice bright Saturday, and we got some round two action today that we'll get into later as well, man. But how are you doing on this fine Saturday, my man? It's been a while.
It's been a while, bro. Doing good, man. Just enjoying the playoff series. It's been a lot of interesting ones so far. The whole season definitely gonna be fun for sure. But yeah, man, just enjoying these playoff series while I can. Obviously, my team isn't in it. It's been that long since we talked. But yeah, just watching the playoffs, man. Just taking notes.
It might be easier for you that way to not have your team in the playoffs because like once you get in it and you're like playing these competitive series, like I know I got a couple friends that are Lakers fans. They played most of those games against the Nuggets very competitively, right? Like they were
Right.
in most of those games. Same thing with the Sixers and the Knicks. In most of those games, those guys get put down. The Lakers get put down in 5, I believe, and the Sixers get put down in 6, even though the series was fairly close amongst all of it. So, nonetheless, it's a tough pill to swallow, like when you
Yeah,
have to
for sure.
lose like that in the first round. So maybe it saved you from misery where you could just get straight into first round basketball, playoff basketball, start enjoying it as like the casual fan, just the
Yeah.
general fan of hoops. Because now that's what I got to like switch into now. I got to switch into just enjoy the sport.
Yeah.
Like I can't enjoy my squad no more, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
man.
have to focus on some of the players that I like around the league, which is ultimately fine, man. I'm used to it at this point. I
Yeah, I
should be
know
at
you
least.
used to. Yeah,
I
man.
should be.
Yeah.
But what do you want to get into first? I'll throw it to you, man. Where do you want to start here?
We can discuss the Mavericks and the Clippers series.
That's fresh.
See
That's fresh.
see what direction the Clippers looking ahead in this offseason. It's going to be interesting for sure. I mean, you got PG, he's a free agent. We got player option. Then you got Harden and Westbrook. So it's interesting to see like what route they decide to go. Obviously, they extended Kawhi earlier this year, so just interested to see like how they want to go about things. So yeah, we can talk about them in their playoff series or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good place to start because that is fresh on the mind after the game, game 6 last night. So the
Yeah,
Mavs
game
closed them
six.
out in 6, 114 to 101. Kyrie had 30 points in this game. Hit some incredible shots. I saw some highlights against PJ Tucker.
Man,
Um,
man, man.
Luca did not shoot well in this series at all. He went 1 for 10 from the 3-point line last night. Overall for the series, he didn't shoot well. Just because I know I was betting on him throughout the series between threes and his points, and it was not hidden for Luca during this series. So it is interesting that Kyrie, in a sense, I know Luca, he still puts up the gaudy numbers as far as totals, but the efficiency's down. Kyrie was really kind of leading the way from a scoring standpoint for them in
Yeah,
this
for
series.
sure.
So I thought that was interesting, man, just to see that kind of revitalized Kyrie. Like I didn't think he was washed by any means. Like I don't mean it like that.
Yeah,
But to see like top level Kyrie Irving is pretty great to see because it feels like it's been a while, man.
yeah. It's been a while. I know Luca came out and said that he got to help Kyrie score the ball more, help him win, or something like
Yeah,
that. So yeah,
yeah,
Luca he has been
he knows.
struggling pretty much, but Kyrie he's been on one all series long. I mean, the degree of shots and layups he was making last night was just insane, man. I mean, and I feel for PJ Tucker, man. I mean, you didn't get many runs throughout the regular season, then.
Yeah,
You get in the starting lineup, and then your assignment is to guard Kyrie Irving. I mean, you got your work cut out for you right there. So,
right,
yeah, and then
right.
PJ, he's not, young or anything like that. But, man, Kyrie, man. But his
Yeah,
Mavericks teams, they're very interesting moving forward. I mean, it's
they're
going to be
well
an
rounded.
interesting series against the Thunder coming up for real. And I love what they did at the trade deadline. Me and you both talked about this a lot of times.
Yeah,
Feel like they got better pieces then and guys who
PJ
come.
Washington.
Yeah, PJ Washington, Gafford,
Yeah.
and the Ricky Lively, they hit it on the head drafting him. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, watch out for this Dallas team, man.
No, that's a good call. That's a good call. Just looking into like the second round matchups from a far scope here. I believe that first game's on Monday between
Yeah,
OKC and Dallas, but that's going to be a hell of a series because you do have like that well rounded OKC team. They are really young, but then you got the Dallas Mavericks who just have that major star power in the duo with Luca and Kyrie. And I feel like Luca can only play better against OKC compared to what he played against the Clippers here. And then
fair
you
enough.
mentioned it, man. The pickups at the trade deadline definitely made them a lot more well rounded with PJ Washington and Gafford. Like the rebounding, the toughness, the defense, the length, a lot more athleticism there too when you throw in Lively. So I do like what the Mavs are doing. Let's switch lanes here and talk about uh where the drama is, because that's all it's going to be for the Clippers this offseason, I believe, unless they
Yeah,
lock up Paul George and lock up James Harden early. There's going to be some drama there between who they decide to bring back, who they don't, if they're able to bring both of them back, what their contracts look like if they bring them back. But I'll ask you, man, right off the top, like if you're the Clippers, if you're a Clippers fan, do you want Paul George back? Do you want James Harden back? Do you want both back? Are you willing to give a guy like Paul George max money if he's able to get it elsewhere and there's a competing team? Like, where are you at with those two players specifically? We know Russell Westbrook, he's a little bit past top tier player, right? Compared to these guys
right.
that
Yeah,
could get close to a max this offseason.
yeah, for sure. For me, like I'm a huge Paul George fan, but
I like him, yeah.
it's just tough, man. Like he just started to question, like, is he the guy to, put you over the hump to get the job done ultimately? Like you can say the same thing with Harden. I mean, he started the
Yeah,
series out strong. I think his first two games he played really well, but since then it's been like kind of rocky.
yeah,
Um, his shots just wasn't falling or whatnot. He just couldn't create for himself. But yeah, with PG, like I think it's maybe time for them to move on. See if you can get an
right.
upgrade out there, a guy who's proven. If you still trying to go in the way of like contending for a title or like rebuilding or whatnot, but if you still got Kawhi signed long term, then you should probably
Yeah,
like look
you
to
got to
see if
go
you can
for a
get
title.
yeah, see if you
Yeah,
can like get better pieces alongside him because I don't think Harden or PG are the guys to get the job done. I mean, they just prove it year after year. So
yeah.
yeah, especially Harden to be exact. But what route
If
would
you
you
are
head in though? If you was a Clippers fan, like would you want them to keep PG or Harden? Or how would you like go about it?
Yeah, yeah. I was actually going to ask you kind of a similar thing, like which one would you want if you had to keep one? But I guess let me put it that way. If I had to keep one, man, it is tough because I feel like Harden played better in the postseason than Paul George did. And I'm just looking at the
Mhm.
numbers here to confirm that. So Harden 38% from three, Paul George 37%. Harden 45% from the field, Paul George 41 from the field.
That's terrible.
Harden 21 points, Paul George 19. Harden 4 rebounds, Paul George 7. Harden 8 assists, Paul George around 5. It's close. They played very similarly, and so I guess I personally like Paul George more. Like coming from my perspective as a Sixers fan, dealing with James Harden,
Yeah.
um, being honest with you, I like Paul George more. I like his makeup. I like his length. He is able to still defend, even though some nights he might have like an off night shooting. He still can contribute rebounding, defense. For example, like Sixers have some money to spend. I would throw a bag at Paul George. I would consider it. I would consider it. I don't know if I would do a max. Depends what his market is like. Um, but yeah, I think even if I'm the Clippers, I think I'm still going Paul George. The thing with the Clippers, though, Harden is the better playmaker than Paul George. So if you take Harden off that team compared to, you do have a similar player in Kawhi to Paul George. So
Right.
I don't know. It's something to consider there. Maybe that makes Harden the guy that you would want to bring back more. But I agree with you. I think ultimately, whether you don't bring both back, bring one of them back, and then with the other part of your money, whatever you can do, go in a new direction. Try to get some youth in there. Coffee, he showed some signs. Give Terrence Mann some more
Yeah,
playing
Terrence
time.
Mann. Yep.
Bones Highland, like there's some young
Yeah,
guys on that team
for
that
sure.
they can
Yeah.
give some PT to as well, man. So
Yeah.
it
Gotta
is
mix things
interesting
up.
because
Gotta
it
mix
always
things
comes
up.
down to Kawhi.
Yeah.
Is he going to be healthy?
Yeah, that's something interesting too. Like you start to wonder, like at this stage of his career, like is he the guy anymore? Like obviously he's proven,
Yeah,
when he's with the Raptors that he can be the number one option on a championship team. But since then it's been kind of iffy. Like
yeah,
nobody ever questioned his talent,
inconsistent.
just his availability, and he just every time around postseason he gets injured or whatnot. So it's just like tough to see for sure. But they got tough decisions to be made for sure, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be tough to do. Going out in the first round, man, it is very similar to the other team we got to talk about. That's the Sixers in the Knicks series. Obviously, that concluded on Thursday, Game 6. Similar situation, I believe, for the Sixers and the Clippers. You look at the Sixers; they go out in the first round. That's not anywhere close to what we would have been thinking about as Sixers fans or as a Sixers organization. I say we. Um, that was not the goal, right? To lose in the
Yeah.
first round to the New York Knicks. Embiid played. He was a little beat up, but he did play. Maxey obviously ascended this season. But going into the offseason, right? Looking at it from that standpoint, there's nobody on this team that's a lock outside of Maxey and Embiid. And so there is going to be new pieces on this roster, which I am excited for. It is why I was able to get up this morning and really work myself up to hop back on the pod with you today after that
Yeah.
miserable series. But yeah, the Sixers got a lot of questions around their roster as well, man, similar to the Clippers. And there's a lot of change that needs to happen for that team to end up competing with the likes of a Boston, or even to get out to get past a team like the New York Knicks. Apparently, they're going to need to add some pieces this offseason, man. So, what were your thoughts on that series? Because obviously, I'm a little biased. I could share mine. What were your thoughts watching that series?
Uh, Me and you both watched the last game Thursday. We was chatting about it or whatnot. But you said that it's two locks on the team, and that's Embiid and Maxey. But if we're being honest, there's another guy that I feel like he can be a
Who's that?
lock on the team, and it's just I feel like his tenure here has been kind of rocky, but I feel like long term it'll be better as time progresses on, and that's a guy that goes by the name of Tobias Harris. Oh. No, I'm joking, but no, but let me stop. But here's the thing, I got a question for you though. Like Buddy
Uh,
Hill, it's so interesting, right? When I look at Buddy Hill, it's a similar situation that Duncan Robinson was in with the Miami Heat, right? I think it was
yeah,
22 playoffs. So basically, like the reason he stopped getting PT was because of his defense, right? Like he just couldn't guard. But offensively, though, he does provide you floor spacing. And I was kind of
yeah,
confused why like Buddy Hill minutes start to slowly like decrease, or when
yeah,
he was getting DNPs. I hadn't meant to hit you up about that, but when I seen him come out firing and all cylinders this Thursday night, I'm like, man, like imagine if y'all would have just given this man all Tobias minutes, how
yeah,
things would have looked.
yeah,
Because like you gotta understand, like I know Tobias has like a size advantage over Buddy, but y'all still have Nicholas Batum, Kelly Oubre. Those guys have some height and size on them. So yeah, the last game I was curious to see why Nick Nurse decided to play Tobias more over Buddy Hill opposed
yeah.
to Buddy Hill scoring 20 points and then Tobias scoring zero. So it's interesting. But overall, over this series though, man, it's interesting. Like the foul call clearly favors New York. I mean, no doubt about it. I'm a huge Brunson fan, but the whistle, you can see it. I mean, Tyrese Maxey could get choke slammed through a damn table, and the rest wouldn't call it.
That's what
And
makes me the most heated about the series. The Tyrese Maxey like lack of whistle compared to Brunson's. Like if it was just a physical series, that would be one thing. But like just the scale that they blow the whistle for Brunson compared to just like letting Maxey just get. I don't
Yeah,
know. It was wild when he goes to the rack, man. To
yeah.
hear
I
no
mean,
whistle.
it was just wild, man, for
But
sure.
Brunson did ball out. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
give
lie
him
there.
props. Yeah,
I don't like him. Obviously, I'm a little hurt right now. My feelings are hurt. I'm a little biased towards him or against him, I guess you would say. But he did ball out. He's arguably been the best player this postseason so far. Just to give you an idea where my play, he ranks number 3 on my best players in this postseason so far. So I have 2 guys ahead of him that I think have maybe not put up the same numbers because Brunson has arguably put up the best numbers from the scoring standpoint. Um, but just the overall impact on the game, I have 2 guys ahead of him. But I think that speaks for itself, right? Like there's a ton of superstars that have been in this postseason so far. And for Brunson to kind of lead the way there, being the tops of it, it speaks for itself and what New York has there. And they have a bunch of guys that play really hard around him. I obviously, like you said, I'm glad you said it for me so that I don't have to feel like I'm like crying here. I don't want to sit here and like complain.
yeah,
But the calls were annoying, man. It did feel like we were playing against like the NBA as a whole. Adam Silver. I don't know what was going on game 2 with the timeouts. Like that's the one that really like haunts me. Is
yeah.
like, damn, if we
They
just get
definitely,
the timeout and win
yeah.
that game in New York, that
Yeah, they
changes the
definitely
entire
changed the
series.
series for sure, bro. I mean,
Yeah,
like
but
the series, it doesn't start until the other team officially wins on the road, and that would have been a huge win for
exactly,
y'all guys, man. It sucks to
exactly.
see that the way it happened, but it would have been a huge
That's
win
the
for
game,
sure.
though, right? That's the sport. That's it can happen in any sport. It happens to teams all the time. It is what it is. It's part of the trade here. But ultimately, what the series pointed out to me, man, for the Sixers from a basketball standpoint, strictly here, um, you got to get somebody one to back up Embiid. Like it can't be Paul Reed anymore. When Embiid comes off the floor, he was a plus like 46 or a plus 48 across this series. When Embiid was on the floor, the team was plus 48 or 46. Um, that speaks for itself to me that you lose this series in 6 games and he's
Yeah,
up that much when he plays. You have to get a quality backup and you have to get guys that can help rebound. I mean, it was ridiculous in this series, the offensive rebounding. And it does speak to the ability of New York. But you also, like guys like Tobias, you mentioned it, man. Like, there's so many different things we can talk about with Tobias in this series. Like, there's so much
yeah,
long. Like, he was, so for the first, like, 4 games, he was an afterthought. Like, it was just more or less like, if you don't notice him, it's probably a good thing. Like if he's just in the game and you don't notice him.
yeah,
You get to game 5, he finally shows up. He gives you 19 in that game. It was his highest scoring total of the game. It was closer to what he averaged during the season. And then you go to game 6, bro. And this man, not only does he score 0, but he's in for 29 minutes and he takes 2 shots. He takes 2 shots. He's getting paid $37 million. I know everybody says it's 37. It's still a lot of money. 4 rebounds, 3 assists in this game. Unacceptable. So, like you said, just add some shooting in place of Tobias, whether that's a Buddy Hield. And I think to answer your question regarding Buddy Hield, I think part of that was the fact that he got traded for mid-season, right, at the trade deadline. Embiid was injured at that time, so he was playing a lot of minutes without Embiid in the equation. Then Embiid gets thrown back into the equation right at the start of the playoffs. And so I think Buddy Hield was just on a very short leash. Didn't play very well in the first like 2 to 3 games. I think he got playing time. No, he did. His playing time stopped in game 3 actually because that was the game Campaign got inserted into the rotation, took his minutes. Campaign had a good game 3. We end up winning that game, and then Buddy doesn't play in game 4, or game 5, I believe actually. So to your point, yeah, I think that was more of Buddy not being fully integrated into the team because he
yeah,
talked about it in his post-game press conference. He said he would like to be back in Philadelphia and that he feels like if he gets more time to play with Maxey and Embiid specifically. It'll look a lot better. And I agree, man.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, for sure.
Kelly Oubre,
Mhm.
he's another guy I would consider bringing back. I wouldn't call him a
Yeah, for sure.
lock just because I'm not paying him. We're not doing the Tobias thing again. Like that's my main thing. That's why I'm like Paul George. I love Paul George, right? Like he's been a great player throughout his career, but we already have Embiid who's injury prone, who struggles with different ailments throughout a season.
Yeah.
Paul George, is he really like that answer? Is he that answer? Is he that guy at the late game that's going to help us out and hit clutch shots? Like, I
I don't
don't
know,
know.
man. It's just
Like,
tough.
are you giving Paul George a max contract?
No, not by any means. I'd give it like 3 year, 70 million, like 75, something like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give him a 4 year, like 135 or 130. Nah.
I
But then
feel
again,
like
it's
to
tough
get him out
because
of LA, you know what I mean? You're going to have to pay the max. Like, if they're not willing to pay the max, you'll have to pay the max to get him out of LA.
yeah, it's tough because like that's why I say like some players kind of do ruin the market, like for some players, because I'm sure PG gonna look at a guy like Drew Holiday, right? He just got a 4 year, 130 extension or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's gonna look at that and be like, oh, if
Yeah.
Drew can get that, I know I can get that, or probably even more.
Right. I should
So,
get more than that.
yeah, so he's gonna look at stuff like that, and it's gonna be interesting for sure. But you brought up Kelly. I would love to see Kelly on the Sixers again next season. I feel like he did a pretty solid job going
Yeah.
busting the whole series. I mean, it's easier said than done, but I like his fit on this team. He can play off the ball, he can shoot, he is an athletic wing. So yeah, maybe y'all give him like around 9, maybe 10 mil, like 2 year, 3 year deal. That'd be pretty nice for y'all as well.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
well as
That
Buddy
sounds
too,
perfect.
though.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, Lowry too. I love what I seen game 6. His leadership, he could have been pounding on the bench that he wasn't getting playing time, but instead he
Yeah.
was giving Joel and Maxie advice on the bench. So that's what vets supposed to do, man. So
You
yeah,
know, with Lowry, it's interesting because I think it'll be up to him. I think he can come back. I think we would bring him back if he wants to play again.
yeah,
But if he didn't, I would just put him on the coaching staff, man. Like he's
not a bad
played with
idea.
Nick Nurse a large part of his career. I'm sure
Yeah.
they're familiar with each other.
Philly native,
Yeah, exactly.
Lord,
It would
yeah,
make
yeah,
sense.
and
Batum is another guy. Like if he's not retiring, I would take Batum back as well. I don't think he would
yeah,
cost that much.
yeah. So you brought up that y'all need more rebound in the backup bid. Yeah, you can say that, and also y'all need another ball handler
Yeah,
beside
I do
Maxie for
agree.
sure. Because I like the idea of playing Max off the ball. I feel like he
Yeah,
could be a lot effective playing off the ball, post on the ball, even though he do a pretty good job of it, but he's a
yeah,
pretty good shooter. So, you get him off the ball, try to acquire maybe a guy like DeJounte Murray or,
yeah,
potentially
yeah.
Zach LaVine, depends on his health, so
Yeah, Zach Levine, man, it's an interesting name. It's exactly what you said. It's the health. DeMar DeRozan is interesting, right? Like he's a guy that can handle the ball, score one on one. Jimmy Butler is a name that's been floated around that the Sixers are looking at. Brandon Ingram's another name, but he would be closer to like the bottom of the list that I would want out of those guys. But I do agree with you. Just somebody to take the ball out of Maxi's hands, handle it at least partially, right? Like Maxi can still handle the ball, 45, 50% of the time. That's fine. But I think
yeah,
adding another ball handler, another playmaker, like they had, like, for example, they had Kyle Lowry starting next to Maxi. Like that
right,
right there.
yeah,
Let's get somebody in there with a little more size, a little bit more youth, a little bit more athleticism than Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, great coming off the bench.
yeah,
Kyle Lowry in the starting lineup, I
yes,
don't know.
yeah,
So, yeah, I do agree. I think bringing in wings, athletic basketball players, right? Just bring in winning players. That's really what I can say.
mhm,
Like, because you can go so many angles, man. They're gonna have to refill this team with talent. But they lacked a little bit of everything, right? Like they could use a little bit more floor space, a little bit more athleticism, all of the above. But let's move on. Don't want to spend too much time dreading the Sixers here. Um, let's go to that Pacers Bucks game because that Pacers Bucks series because that just wrapped up a few nights ago as well. Obviously, Dame not didn't play in a few games in this series, but did play in the last game that they lost. Chris Middleton looked a little revitalized in this series, but the Pacers come away with it 4-2. Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, and company. They got a very deep team there in Indiana. What were your thoughts on that series overall?
I love what I seen from this young Pacers team. I feel like um, Tyrese kind of like, I ain't gonna say handed the keys to Pascal, but just sort of like gave him the confidence to go out there and be aggressive offensively, go out there and lead
Yeah,
us. And which he has been. I think he's averaging like what 22, 23 points per game in that series. So yeah, just love to see Pascal the way he's been fitting in with this team. This is Rick Carlisle's first playoff series win since I think they won the chip back in 11. So that's pretty nice to see. So
yeah,
yeah, but I like this young Pacers team. I mean, obviously they're missing a huge piece in Benedict Mathurin, young guy who can score the ball. But yeah, from what I've seen this series, I like what I've seen for the most part. They got a nice mixture of guys with the youth and the
yeah,
vets, Miles Turner, TJ McConnell, and obviously the young guys. But yeah, I mean, this series, from a Buck standpoint, I wouldn't really look too deep into it because your best player didn't play at all. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be in a rush to
I think
like
it is
break
that
things up
simple.
or hit the panic button or whatnot, because it's already getting rumors started that Giannis may want out and whatnot. But you
Yeah,
can't really like dig too deep in there because he didn't play the whole series, so it's really not much to look into it. But you can look and say like, okay, well, Chris Middleton, he looked pretty good the whole series.
he
Maybe
did.
he
Yeah,
can, um, we can move forward with something like that or potentially flip him. Bobby, he's looked pretty good as well. So. Yeah, just interesting to see like what route, but I'm pretty sure you're going to go on the route of like discussing what Pat Bev did because that was wild to see, man.
yeah. So as far as the Bucks, I do agree with you. I think when you don't have Giannis, like you kind of just have to throw it out. Damian Lillard, I mean, I thought he played well when he did play here. There's obviously going to be the concerns as he gets older, but overall, I thought he looked pretty good in this series when he did play. Chris Middleton, like you said, down the line. Maybe Brooke Lopez is a guy that isn't there. I don't know. Where do you make the change with this
Yeah,
team? It'll be
he
interesting
probably
to
make
see.
some. Yeah, he makes some moves for sure. Because
Yeah,
I
but the
mean,
Pat Bev thing, it is interesting because he had obviously two incidents after the loss to the Pacers in that game six. Obviously, throwing the ball, trying to throw it at a fan, but ends up hitting a woman that works with the Milwaukee Bucks. And then after the game, obviously, just being kind of a dick to to one of
yeah,
the reporters from ESPN, a female reporter,
yeah,
um, and that's all I can say. He just looks kind of like a dick right now.
yeah. The next
That's kind
5
of how
years
I
is
feel,
mine.
man. But that's Fat Bev. He kind of is a dickhead in a
Yeah.
sense, man. It was hilarious seeing Draymond's take on it, though. I will say that.
Are you
Yeah,
saying that? Yeah, I seen it
yeah, it
too.
was hilarious seeing him talk about it because it sounded like he was talking about himself. But to be fair, I don't know if Draymond's ever done anything like throwing a ball at a
Yeah, I
fan.
don't think. Yeah, I don't think Dre would
So
do that, but.
that is a
Yeah, I
little
mean, because
little
from my
far.
understanding, like a report came out from Shams that the fan said Cancun on three. That was all that he said, from my understanding. So,
Yeah, if that's
if
all
that
he
is to
said, that's
be,
crazy.
if that is all he said, that's kind of wild, Pat. Because I'm like, bro, you really. I was like, I understand you frustrated. You got
Yeah,
put out the playoffs.
he's supposed to
I
be
mean,
mature though.
yeah, for sure, you've been in this league a long time. But I had to get in on the trolling. Because back in the 20 season, opening night, we played the Clippers and they beat our ass. It was our first game at Chase Center, by the way, and Pat Bell told Steph that the next 5 years is his. So let's kind of like retract. It's been 5 years since then, so let's retract a little bit. So 1920, you blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the bubble, right? The next season, 2021, y'all made the conference finals for the first time in 40 years. So that's pretty good. But then the offseason, you got traded to Memphis. Then the Memphis traded you to the Timberwolves, which y'all made the play-in tournament, and y'all won, and y'all celebrated like it was a championship game. So y'all ended up getting bounced by the Grizzlies
Definitely.
overall. So that was that. Then the 20, what was it? 22-23 last season. He went to LA, went to the Lakers. Well, actually, the Timberwolves traded him to the Jazz, and they bought his contract out, and
Yeah.
he signed with the Lakers. And then the Lakers ended up trading him to the Magic, who bought his contract out. And he signed with the Bulls, and he finished the season. Now they didn't make the playoffs that year, so he ended up signing with the Philadelphia 76ers in the all season, right? And he ended up getting traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. So yeah, the 5 years since he said that has been quite interesting with Patrick Beverly, man. He's it's interesting for sure, but yeah, it's funny.
I'm sure he has. I'm sure he has a ton of haters out there, man. I'm sure. But
Been on a
he
lot
is.
of different teams, bro.
He's an interesting guy for sure. But that was yeah, a little embarrassing for him, I would imagine, at the end of that game. Moving
Yeah.
into the next series, what do you think about that Pacers Knicks matchup? Who are you feeling in that series?
To be honest, bro, I got the Pacers in 7. I think Pascal Sam gonna be the X factor in this series. Like obviously, I think OG gonna guard him, but if he can pop off and give you about 23, 24 a game, then and the others
Yeah.
contribute in the right ways, then I feel like they can get the best of New York because I think at some point, like I don't know if it's gonna be this series for New York or if they advance, but you're going to feel the effect of Julius Randle not being able to play like a guy who's averaged 24 points per game for you. You're going to eventually feel that for sure. Because I'm not saying Brunson going to slow down by any means, but just not having Randle out there, you're going to eventually feel that at some point in these playoffs. So yeah, I think the Pacers in 7. I think they can get the job done for sure.
I'll be interested to see how that series is officiated. I'm interested to see how they officiate Jalen Brunson against the Indiana Pacers. I'm interested because there's been a lot of complaining over the last few days about the jumping backwards, that type of stuff. I also think with the New York Knicks, just the reality of it, Josh Hart's going to come back to earth. Like he's just not going to keep shooting the ball like that. That's not who he is. I think a
Yeah,
lot of that series, man, like as much as I hate to admit it, I think a lot of it was those Villanova kids like going against Philadelphia, like having played in Villanova and the whole argument about all of that. I think Josh Hart like played out of his freaking mind. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that, like you said, against the likes of a Pascal Siakam, which is just kind of completely different than anything the Sixers are really going to pose at you because you have Miles Turner. He's going to, be matched up with Hartenstein. He's going to space the floor. He's going to rebound. And then you have Pascal Siakam, who does a lot of everything.
yeah,
And once again, Tyrese Halliburton, you know what he's capable of. So who's going to win that battle out of Halliburton and Brunson? That's going to be interesting. We know what Brunson can do scoring. We know what Halliburton can do, like playmaking, getting his teammates involved. But the Pacers, I mean, they had big series from a bunch of different guys. Nimhard, TJ McConnell had some big
yeah.
games
He
in this
did.
series. I mean, they're a very, very deep team, even
Yeah,
without Benedict
um,
Mathurin. So I
yeah,
know a lot of, I obviously follow just a lot of Sixers fans. I'm in deep into Philadelphia sports Twitter. A lot of Sixers fans think the Knicks are just going to walk over the Pacers, and I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see if that happens because if the officiating does continue to favor the Knicks, they really want that Knicks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals matchup. Sure, it'll be close enough that they can do that. Um, I don't know which way to go in this one. I do think it'll be 7 games, though. I think these teams are fairly close. I think Indiana, they'll have just like a better rebounding opportunity with their makeup of their team against the Knicks, and I feel like the Knicks rely heavily on offensive rebounds specifically, just as far as getting extra possessions and extra shots. They like to muck it up. So
yeah.
I think Pacers, the way they score the ball, the way they're able to get up into the 120s. I don't know if the Knicks are going to be able to keep up with that, but they've defied the odds, right, since they got in Jalen Brunson. I get that trend. Um, man, I'm kind of leaning Pacers, but I can't tell if I'm just being biased. So I'll kind of sit out this series. I want the
Yeah,
Pacers to win, so I'll sit out picking on that series. I do think it goes 7 games, though.
yeah, for
Um,
sure. Yeah, man, just Pacers, they got a lot of nice young pieces over there. I forgot they got Neesmith too. He's pretty solid.
Yeah, Neesmith. There's another guy I'm forgetting too.
Ben Shepherd or something.
Ben Shepherd. That's
Yeah,
exactly who I was
Ben
thinking of.
Shepherd. Yeah,
He's
they
a
got some
he's a
nice
great
pieces over
hustle
there.
player too.
But was it another like question you was finna ask about like another series or something? Because I got something else I want to ask you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So the Lakers fired Darvin Ham yesterday, and
Yeah.
you know it's tough being a coach in the NBA. It's a tough gig, man. Just I mean, talk about the definition of scapegoats. That's the NBA coach, like head coach to be exact. But I want to get your thoughts on that. Like, do you think that there's a certain coach out there that can coach LeBron to another championship in the NBA? Like, do you think it's possible, or you just don't know? Like, because I'm curious to know. Like, obviously, like I will say this. Like, I know Darvin has been receiving a lot of heat, by this coaching and the way he operate about
Yeah.
things. But I feel like it's not totally his fault though, bro. Like, you look at the inconsistent of the players that's on the team, like D'Angelo Russell. One game he'll have 7 threes. The next game, 0 points.
Yeah.
Like what is he supposed to do about that? Like then you want him to switch it up, right? But it's only so much he can do, like with the guys that's on the roster at the moment. So, but yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, is there a coach out there that can coach LeBron to another championship?
So it is interesting. They go ahead, they fire Darvin Ham. I do get where you're coming from, scapegoat. Was this, was them losing in the first round? Was that Darvin Ham's fault? Ultimately, no, I don't think it was. I think that was
Yeah,
more
the
of like
same here, bro.
a Rob Palinka thing. But at the same time, I don't think Darvin Ham was a very good coach. So
Yeah,
I didn't see, like LeBron or anybody lobbying for him to, stay as the head coach. So
yeah, for
it leads
sure.
me
Yeah,
to believe he just probably wasn't that good, and maybe was there a little bit longer than what he ultimately should have been. But nonetheless, they move on from him. The weird thing about this matchup with the Lakers in the first round, it's the Denver Nuggets. So, like, did we expect the Nuggets to lose in the first round?
nah,
No. Did we
I
expect the Lakers to lose in five? Probably not, but it is the Nuggets. It is the defending champs. It is kind of a luck of the draw. But to your point, they do got some roster makeup, some roster rebuilding they need to do, and LeBron is a free agent if he wants to be. So, does he go back to LA? Maybe it depends on the coach that they select. I really don't know. They've tried like all of these coaches. Like I really don't know what route you go as far as like a head coach. Maybe like a newer, like younger type of guy. Like I've seen people talk about JJ Redick, but they do a podcast together. So like I don't get that like concept of like him coaching LeBron. Like I just don't feel like that will work. So I feel like you
I
do
was
have to have somebody who's more experienced who can command the locker room. I think that was part of the problem too, Darvin Ham, like commanding the locker room.
yeah, for
You
sure.
need
Yeah,
somebody that's going to be able to do that. Maybe that's what decides where LeBron ultimately ends up going. Maybe he doesn't stay in LA. So it'll
yeah,
be interesting.
yeah, for sure. I say like you mentioned like what way they should go as far as like coaching like more youth or like somebody more experienced. It's just tough because I mean they had Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, and Darvin Ham. So there's three coaches since LeBron been here. He been his
Whoa. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Technical difficulties. Give him 1 second here. Hop back in.
I don't back for my bad. I don't know what happened, but what I was saying was it's interesting to see like what route they go in because they had Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, and Darvin Ham. So
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just interesting to
have
see it. But
experience guys too.
yeah,
Yeah,
me
they've
personally,
tried both.
I like to see JJ Redick as a commentator. Like I don't just I like his mind of the game. I don't think he should be a coach, not yet anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I could see him with like a younger team, like the Hornets, for example. That's a team they've linked him to. I could see him with a team like that where he is a little bit older. Do we lose him again? Oh man, what is going on?
yo.
Yeah, I can hear you. We good. You just blacked out on the screen there for a second. All right, man. Let's move on a little bit here and get into some different topics. So I do got a few questions for you just before we get to next round predictions as far as round two. Um, what's your which series was your favorite series in round one so far?
First, oh man.
Like which matchup did you look at in the schedule and you said, I have to watch that game that night? Like I have to make sure I tune into that one.
Honestly, like it's two really. It's two.
Two?
It's one in the East and it's one in the West. The Sixers and the Knicks, that series really didn't disappoint.
Every game
Um,
was close. Yeah.
yeah, every game close. It was fun to watch. It was nice playoff level intensity for sure
Yeah.
from both teams, and yeah, that and then obviously they ended them in 5 games, but it was fun to watch. And that's the Lakers versus the Nuggets. That was a
Yeah.
pretty
I can
pretty
agree.
fun series to watch for sure. I mean, just to see the way AD was being more aggressive offensively, going out there, finding his shot and getting it done to the best visibility on defense against the Joker. But overall, the Joker overpowered him. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are my two series. I was like, okay, I'm going to tune into the most for sure.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree. Like obviously I'm biased towards the Sixers, so that was my favorite, but the next best one, I mean, the thing with the Mavs and the Clippers, like it looks a lot better on paper than what it actually was. Like there was a couple games mixed in there that were
Yeah, I
blowouts.
mean,
So it's like the matchups were great, but there was only a few close games. So I would say the Lakers and the Nuggets ultimately would be that other matchup that I was looking at because
yeah, for sure.
it
Because
just
like,
has some like Jamal Murray, like big shots, dunking on LeBron. I mean, big Michael Porter Jr. games, big AD
man,
games.
right.
LeBron obviously in the matchup. Jokic doing what he does every single game. But I mean, I would have to agree. What was your least favorite series in the first round so far? Which one have
Um,
you tuned into the least?
that would be. It's really two, and that's the Timberwolves and the Suns. I mean, I felt like to me after game two, I know it was wraps for them boys. Like,
Yeah, I feel
has had zero faith in the Suns. I mean, that's probably something we can kind of allude to before we get out of here too. Just a little
yeah,
bit about the Suns and how they're going to go about things. But yeah, that series then the Celtics versus the Heat. I mean, it was kind of a no brainer that the Celtics was going to beat them. I mean, no Jimmy Butler, no Terry Rozier. You got your work cut
yeah,
out for you. So yeah, it's those are the two least favorite series that I would tune into. And also, when you mentioned with the Mavericks and the Clippers, you're right because I mean, Kawhi only played like what 1 game, 2 games maybe.
yeah. That is true. The matchups, yeah. So that does
Yeah,
take a
so
little bit out
it's like no having no Kawhi is not going to be that fun anyway. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
fair.
but those
OKC
my two least series.
sweeping the Pelicans too. That one
Oh
was
yeah, that
pretty
series too. Yeah, I
worthless.
didn't really tune into that series as
No
much as
Zion. Yeah, that's I didn't feel like we needed to talk about it too much. Like, yeah, the Oklahoma City great win. Like it was great for them to get like their first playoff series win with that team. But the Pelicans and no Zion, they looked lifeless out there, honestly. They looked lost. But maybe that speaks to how good OKC is. But their matchup with the Mavs is really going to be something to look forward to. That's going to be a great matchup. But
what's up, Darius?
Darius hopping in the comments there. Who's your best player in the postseason so far?
Uh, man, I want to say Nikola Jokic. I mean, just he's been just like rebounding the ball, like scoring, playmaking, just doing it all. But
Yeah.
Man, it's tough because it's like I don't want to leave Anthony Edwards out at that conversation because he's been. I mean, you talking about getting it done on both ends. Like, he's
Hey,
been.
Darius is not lying with this one, yo.
Yeah, but see, here's the
This
thing
shit
though.
was
Like,
ridiculous
I
with Derek
would say
White,
Derek
bro.
White because he did average 20-something points, but it's like it's against a humble Miami team. Like, no Jimmy, no Terry Rozier. Like, obviously, that's no excuse, but it's the Heat that we talking about here. Like, without their best player, so yeah,
That's still crazy for an average stat in
yeah,
this series.
21. It is
He was
crazy.
lighting them up. Like I know Darius is trolling, but
Yeah.
uh, no, I do
I
agree with you.
underrated mention though, like maybe Donovan Mitchell just scored 50 last night, and he scored
Yeah,
all of the Cavaliers' points in the fourth quarter.
that's
So
crazy. Yeah, that
yeah,
is
like
crazy.
see, it was like 60% from the field too. So yeah,
Yeah, D Mitch, it's interesting because on my list here, I listed 5 players, but I took off losing teams. So I guess to give you a prelude to what I think is going to happen, I think the Magic are going to win tomorrow. I think Paulo Banchero is going to close the Cavs out tomorrow.
hello.
Yeah, so I didn't have D Mitch included in this list, although he has played pretty well. I think he's going to lose that series, but I did agree on. I have Ant Edwards as number one. He got the Suns out of there, swept them. He did have a major help. McDaniels was great in that series. Cat had games. Gobert had
Yeah,
games.
Keely
So
Alexander
he had
Walker,
help.
he's been pretty good too.
Yeah, he
Mike
had help
Conley.
by all means. But so did Jokic, right? And Jokic is my number 2 guy who I think has been most impactful, most impressive so far. Number 3, I mentioned it earlier though, but Jalen Brunson, I think his impact on the Knicks is pretty significant with the amount of points that he puts in, the playmaking, and the fact that he is when they need a bucket, he has to go get it. There is nobody
Yeah.
else that you can go to on that team to go get you a bucket one on one. Kyrie Irving, another guy I have written down here. I think he's been amazing so far this postseason. And then
Yeah.
Jamal Murray. I know I have 2 Nuggets on the list there, but Jamal Murray has just been huge in big moments during the playoffs, man. So
Yeah, down the stretch, he's been huge.
definitely wanted to shout him out because I don't know. He goes into a different level in the postseason compared to the
Yeah, he
regular season.
does. To me, he's been mid the whole series, like from a like shooting standpoint. But you can count on him, like in the clutch. Like he'll go out there and get the job done for sure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Before we get out of here, my man, let's make picks on the second round series, and we can even do the one that hasn't finished. You can just pick who you think's going to win that series, and then move on to the round 2 and who you think's going to win. Does it really matter? Like, are you picking anybody over the Celtics? Like, I mean, I don't know if you are, but doesn't really matter who wins tomorrow, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Looking at these series and looking at which ones are most interesting, the least interesting. I'll start with which one I think is the least interesting. I feel like you'll agree. The Celtics versus whoever it would be, the Magic of or the Cavs. Um, where do you think this series goes? Are you just all in on the Celtics no matter what matchup? Is there a matchup you like more against the Celtics between those 2 teams?
Well, here's the thing: it's interesting because Porzingis, like he could potentially miss the whole second round, so
Yeah,
that's a huge loss for them. So the Cavs, whoever it be, the Cavs or the Magic, maybe they got the Celtics number. Like they can potentially do something here. Who knows? Because not having Porzingis, it's a huge loss for them on both ends. Your rim protector. Offensively, he spaces the floor for you. He
yeah.
7-foot guy, you can post up. He just give you a different look that you're not really accustomed to seeing. So yeah, but I say it should be an interesting series for sure. We'll see how things try to go for sure. I mean, not having enough Porzingis, so yeah.
It's interesting. I do think even without Porzingis, I do think that whoever it is, 6 games max. I mean max. I would probably say 5 games. Maybe the other team gets 1. Maybe if it's the Cavs, I guess I would say the Cavs would fare a little bit better against the Celtics. But if Porzingis is out, maybe Paulo is that mismatch against the Celtics. You get some Duke versus Duke. So that's what I would like to see between him and Tatum. But yeah, I think I would go with the Celtics probably in 5 against whichever one of those teams they play. Um, Looking at the next series, I think would be in line here. The Pacers and the Knicks. You already said that you're going with the Pacers in 7. Um, I think for me, I'm ready to make a decision on it. I know I wasn't earlier.
The moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm gonna go with the Knicks, man. I do think the Knicks are gonna win the series. I'm gonna go with the team that has the home court advantage, has the higher seeding, is the owner of the or the the commissioner of the NBA's favorite team in the New York Knicks. I think that it's destined to be the Celtics and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I will go with the Knicks in that series. I do think it's going to be closer than what at least Philly fans expect, which is the Knicks to just run all over the pace. I don't think it's going to be like that. But I do got the we lost Slim again. I got the Knicks beating the Pacers in 7 there. The next series, we get you back, Slim.
Yeah, we back, bro. Everybody calling my damn phone, bro. They calling me, man. They calling me, bro.
All right. So then the last 2 series, we go over to the Western Conference, Slim. The Thunder versus the Mavs. Where are you at with that series?
That's gonna be an interesting series, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It
Yeah,
really
I
is,
like that
man.
matchup a lot.
It is, but I think like to some degree, well, not to some degree. I feel like the experience that the Mavericks overall have over the Thunder will play its part, like in them overall winning the series. Not just from a player standpoint, but from a coaching standpoint. Like Jason Kidd, opposed to the Thunder head coach, you got more experience, being a coach and whatnot. So yeah, it'll play its factor for sure. But it's gonna be a fun series for sure, man. But I think that overall the Mavericks will beat them in like 6, maybe 7 though.
I like that. I do like that. And I do like your point about the Mavericks with experience. I think Kyrie Irving, right? Like
Yeah, Kyrie.
SGA MVP candidate, right? Obviously he's gonna ball out. I think Jalen Williams has been more than impressive so far. They obviously got talent, Chet Holmgren down the line, right? But I do wonder if Luka just has a better series against OKC than he did against the Clippers, right? Like, what does that look like if Luka's hitting his 35-point marks, right, and
Yeah.
his double-digit assist marks? I get it. Defense intensifies. They are going to have a few guys that they can throw at him, including Lou Dort. But
Yeah,
I think the Mavs, I just think the experience, I think they did get the perfect pieces at the trade deadline. I think that they get through the Thunder. I'm gonna go in 7 though. I think this Thunder team is gonna make it a really, really tough series. They're gonna be a really tough out um, against the Dallas Mavericks. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Thunder
yeah,
have the
for
home
sure.
court advantage. They'll get if it does go 7, they do have the favor there, right, with home court advantage. But let's move to the last series to talk about here in the second round. And that's going to be the T-Wolves versus the Denver Nuggets.
Game one today. Game one today.
Game 1 today. Where are you at? Where are you at with this series?
Man,
Because this is close as hell for me. This is close for me.
I will say this though, like I feel like the teams that's left in the West, the Wolves, they match up perfectly with the Nuggets opposed to other teams. Like they have the personnel,
Yeah,
like they got
I agree with
size
that.
and length. They can match the physicality. They're a big team as well. So,
Yeah,
um, man, it's gonna be interesting for sure. I think overall the Nuggets beat them. Like I feel like they can if the Nuggets can like play Rudy Gobert off the floor, then that'll be like a total game changer for them. Like if they can do that, but I think overall they'll win in 6 or 7. It could potentially go 7, but overall I got the Nuggets winning for sure.
I do feel you. It's hard to pick against the Nuggets. That's what it comes down to. It's hard to pick against Jokic. It's hard to pick against like the mismatch that he presents for anybody, especially when you talk about teams having to travel to Denver as well, right? That
Yeah, that
altitude.
multitude. Yeah,
That's just, I mean, that's just like a different It is literally a different atmosphere, like
yeah, it
literally.
is. That's like the
Um,
Nuggets 6 man, bro.
yeah, it really is, man. It's incredible because I understand it having been to Denver a few times myself. It is hard to breathe out there if you're not used to it, man. But um, I love this T Wolves team. I really do. I love Ant Edwards. I love the way they play. I love kind of their defensive makeup with Rudy Gobert and Edwards committed on the defensive end. You got the floor spacing, Cat. Jaden McDaniels, obviously one of the best perimeter 3-and-D type of defenders in the NBA. But it's the Nuggets, man. It's the defending champs, and I feel like I have to give them the benefit of doubt. Like, if I have these teams, neck and neck, 50-50, I have to give the benefit of the doubt, the experience to the Nuggets. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm going to go. I'm going to go Nuggets in 7. I think the T-Wolves are going to push them to the brink. I do think ultimately this is going to be the Nuggets' biggest test. I think you mentioned that with like the way the T-Wolves match up with them, with the big men, with having Rudy Gobert available to guard a guy like Nikola Jokic. That's a game changer within itself when it comes to matchups. But that being said, if I had to pick who I think is going to win the championship, I mean, the Nuggets or the Celtics, and I would probably lean the Nuggets right now. So
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I would say the Nuggets in 7, but I do think this might be, I mean, this could be a better matchup for them than the Boston Celtics. Like, honestly, like just from a defensive perspective, like just looking at it from that standpoint, matching up with Nikola Jokic and then matching up across the board. I'm interested to see who guards Jamal Murray, right?
Yeah,
Like
size
who
wise.
guards Michael Porter Jr.? Is that Cat? Is who's going to guard him? So, well, Cat will be on Aaron Gordon, I would imagine, actually. So
Yeah,
that'll
he'll
be
be
the
on
matchup.
HG for sure. Yeah.
McDaniels, who does he guard? Right, and Edwards can guard the other guy, but who
You
does?
probably would put McDaniels on Murray though. Yeah, you
Yeah,
would probably do that.
best defender,
Had that length to try to
yeah,
bother him.
and then
Yeah,
throw
contest
Ant
his
on
shots and
Michael
stuff.
Porter Jr.
Yeah, and MPJ. Yeah,
And
for sure.
then who's the other starter? Is it Mike? Is it Mike
Mike
Conley?
Conley, you put him on KCP.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so that's how the matchups would go for me. Who do you think wins today, game 1?
I think the Wolves will win game 1. I don't know. I think they'll win it for sure. I got a feeling.
Come out with some energy. It is in Denver.
I think they win today.
You got the T-Wolves. That's interesting, man. They could set the tone, though. They could, man. I feel like Ant Edwards is going to come out today and have a game. I think he is going to try to set the tone. They've had a few days off, right? Like they got the sweep in as well. I know the Nuggets have too. They had a gentleman's sweep, but it's interesting. I think this is kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say it's going to set the tone for the series because these games are going to be crazy between these two. And Edwards comes out strong today. I'm going to go with the Nuggets still at home. Game 1, I think they need to set the tone as well, reassert themselves, let everybody know where they're at. But I do think we're going to see an Ant Edwards crazy game today. I really do.
Yeah,
But Jokic is going to give it right back to him. I think Jokic is going to come out with a purpose today as well. Great matchup. Great basketball for today. We'll have to figure out, I believe we need to figure out and lock in a specific day of the week where we're going to be back here, but we will be back here during this week, probably around Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe, right? Depends on your schedule, my schedule, but we'll lock it in. And we'll put an announcement out there for when we're going live so you guys can tune in and get the comments in, right? Share your thoughts on the show. But that's all I got for today. Slim, did you have anything else before we get out of here, my man?
That's pretty much it, bro. We pretty much hit it on everything. So we'll discuss like next episode. We'll discuss a few more things, but this episode we're pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We'll get into whatever we need to next episode, whatever pops up over these first couple games of these series. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you're not subscribed to the channels, if you're watching on the NBA to the Galaxy Pod channel on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Scotty Talks NBA YouTube, hit the subscribe button and like the video to help us grow here. And be sure to tune in later this week. You will see the announcement. But that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Peace.
yeah.